Hello, welcome to Jenkins Documentation Office Hours. Today is August 21st, and today around the table we have myself, Kevin Martins, Mark Waite, Bruno Verachton, and Meg McRoberts. If anyone else comes in, be sure to welcome them as always and add them to the agenda. For today's agenda, we have just updates on the contributor spotlight, the Java 25 documentation, announcement of Jenkins board and officer elections, continuing to highlight the Jenkins redesign and updated UI, Google Summer of Code 2025, the Chinese documentation site, good first issues on Jenkins.io, recent releases, the IRC bot documentation update, some recent work done on Jenkins.io, and a couple other continuing discussions that we've been having, the documentation tracking, the docs feedback from Gitter, the plugin developer docs and Blue Ocean deprecation. That one actually, there is a note on the Blue Ocean deprecation, but for everything else, we'll just tackle that once we get there. Any other topics that we want to add to the agenda or anything else anyone wants to make sure we cover? All right, then. So first up on the list is the contributor spotlight. So just like last time, so right now we're featuring Jay Francis. It's really great to be able to feature Jay. He joined the project about 18 months ago and is site reliability engineer for Jenkins. So great to have him on board and great to be able to feature him and share his story. I've got another response right now that I'm working on and transitioning into an ADOC file so that it can be submitted for the next spotlight. So looking forward to that. And I've been in contact with the contributor. They've approved and reviewed things, so we're in a good place. And it's just a matter of creating that pull request at this point. And then we have a couple other responses that we're still waiting on feedback for, and Alyssa is going to continue to reach out to folks in the meantime. Google Summer of Code is approaching its endpoint for a lot of the participants, so they might also be worthwhile candidates to talk to and share their stories. But more to come on that, and everything's looking good for the contributor spotlight thus far. In regards to the Java 25 documentation, so Java 25 is still at the early access point on ci.jenkins.io. It's not included in Jenkins core yet. Full support is planned for this fall, so not too far away. But in the meantime, we've been figuring out what areas of documentation are going to need to be updated and added. For Java 25, so normal stuff like upgrade instructions, making sure that other installation instructions and other documentation is referring to the correct Java version, things of that nature. We've got a list of areas to cover there, and Chris Stern created a ticket to watch this in the issue tracker so that we have a centralized location just to like make sure everything is in place and we're communicating about all the changes and updates. So great to see there. More to come on that for sure once we get to the point of supporting Java 25 in Jenkins core. Something that we want to make sure we highlight is the Jenkins board and officer elections. So the Jenkins board and officer elections, the nominations period is now open. This opened August 8th, so just after our last meeting. Thanks to Alex Earl, one of the current board members, for writing up this announcement blog post. And the information that you need to be aware of is all within the blog post. Something I wanted to highlight, and I've included in the agenda as well, is just the phases for the elections. The same as every year, we have the nomination period, which runs from August 8th to September 22nd. Voter registration, which is the 16th of September to October 31st. Voting will take place in November, and the results will be announced in December. The one caveat to voter registration is that we do encourage anyone who wants to vote to have contributed to Jenkins in any way, shape, or form. There's the participate and contribute page, as well as the list of different ways to contribute. There are many, many ways, and it can be as simple as reviewing code or joining a meetup, into more extensive contributions as well. Yeah, Mark.
Also worth noting to all of us in the meeting here, of the four of us in the meeting, only one of us has actually registered to vote. And so the others should register to vote. You can already register to vote.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's you, Mark, that's registered to vote.
Huh, wonder how that
Uh-huh.
happened. Yes.
Okay.
And
Surprised.
there's no link in the agenda to register, right?
Actually, there is. So if, well, in the agenda, no, but on the
Not
blog
in the
post there
agenda,
is.
but
So right there, election voter 20. In fact, Kevin, why
yep.
don't you show us live how to register to vote?
Yeah. So, so the main thing here is that you do need to have a community.jenkins.io account. You can use your GitHub account and just link it here, which is what I've done. Because I have not joined the voter group yet, I have this option to join right here. So once I click join, I'm in. And just like that, I'm right here in the list, along with Mark, along with Alex, Daniel Beck, and others. So yeah, it is that simple. It is that easy. The biggest thing is just making sure that you have an account on the Jenkins Community Discourse site. As long as you have that, joining shouldn't be an issue. On top of that, if you want to submit nominations, that is, there's a tutorial here on how to do that. You send a message to the Jenkins Election Committee group, and you can submit anyone for any position. There are two board positions, and all of the officer positions, as they have been in the past, are open for nomination. There will be a lot more to come on the elections as we go through the season, but just things to be aware of. Again, the key dates here, the voting process, and there's a full timeline and important dates within the blog post. So definitely check that out. If you have questions, there's troubleshooting information here. And so there's a lot of great information, a lot of resources right here and throughout in the Jenkins site itself. But yeah, we are, and for the contributions and participation, it is honor system. We're entrusting people that they're being honest, but it's not a hard set requirement. You're not allowed to if you have not. It's just that we would like people part of the project to be sharing their voices. So nothing unfortunate there. Just want to make sure everyone's very clear on that because I didn't go over that. So, but again, election season is upon us. Let's all participate and vote. The next item on the agenda is the redesigning Jenkins. So this is the second. This here is the second blog post that Jan Faracek wrote up, talking about the redesign of the Jenkins header. This is something we've been discussing for a little bit now. The updated header was launched in the LTS back in July on the 2.516.1 release. You can see here Jan and Darren did a nice live stream, which was really great, and the first live stream for Jenkins. And then the blog post talks a lot about stuff like pipeline visualization, the redesigned header, theming for Jenkins, and just the Jenkins developer experience, which is really important as well. So lots of great information here from Jan. Um, and then as far as the documentation is concerned, we're updating the screenshots used within the Jenkins documentation so that it matches the current UI. The UI has been available in weekly since about April, so it's been around for a little bit longer than the LTS, but now that it's part of the LTS, we're making sure that everything matches as best we can. There's a tracking sheet that I've created so that we can just keep track of the work being done, of course. So there's still more to do, but a lot of these are on the same page so that one pull request will cover a few of these list items here. So you can see here this one pull request covered these three items. I just recently submitted the using agents one, which we just got merged, and so everything's looking good there. Just some more work to be done, nothing too outlandish there. And this will be something that I work on. Others can help for sure, but we're going to hold off on including it in Hacktoberfest because it could be a little bit more intensive than we want to have Hacktoberfest participants kind of try to take on. Some of it might be more straightforward, but some of it will require more setup and more knowledge of the Jenkins flow and how to set things up. So we don't want to put anything out there that might be a little frustrating or daunting to anyone trying to participate. So just that little note there. Um, any other updates, feedback, anything that anyone wants to share on the redesigning Jenkins piece? And we've been getting really good feedback too around the around the online discourse. A lot of people are enjoying the updated header and where things are. It's a lot more in line with people where people expect to find things like manage Jenkins. So just little things like that, little comments and feedback like that's always very nice to get and receive. So it's good to just see that sentiment being shared. For the Google Summer of Code 2025. So all the projects are still in the standard coding period. We are approaching the end of the Google Summer of Code timeline here at the end of August. And right now, final presentations are being planned for the beginning of September. Everything's looking good so far. If the projects do need extensions, they're doing the work that needs to be done to get those extensions in place. If they don't, the contributors are working towards the finish line at this point. And there will be final presentations themselves, and then blog posts to recap all the work that each participant's done in their project. That'll be published once we complete the Google Summer of Code. So lots of great work being done there. Thank you as always to the contributors, the org admins, the mentors, everyone that's involved with this. It definitely takes a village. So for the Chinese documentation site, Chris isn't here to check in on this, but last we spoke, we're just waiting to see what happens with the Google Summer of Code project for retooling Jenkins.io so that the Chinese Jenkins site can kind of line up with the work being done there. So I don't think Chris has started on this just yet, and it may not use the exact same tooling as the docs.jenkins.io site that we intend to use, but it'll be close. And Chris had suggested Docusaurus for the potential framework to use. Still more to be determined there. And again, it's all relative to the Google Summer of Code project, so more to come on that. For the good first issues on Jenkins.io. So Meg, I noticed there was a couple more good first issues that you created. So thank you very, very much for putting those together and submitting those. Really
One of them was
appreciate
a
that.
classic case of where the the issue took longer than to do the work, but we need first issues, so we did it. So
Cool. Hey, that works. I mean, if it helps someone take that first issue on and that's their introduction to Jenkins, then so be it.
that's right. There are a couple of notes. On the side of this, there's a reference to master in this doc.
Oh,
For
in
the
the managing
access
security
control.
section.
Yeah, and I did a git grep, and there's a couple of others left too, all related to this. So advise, and I can do more issues if we want for that. There would be some others, but
Okay.
one of
Yeah.
it I understand.
Yeah, and I know we've had some work done already for the replacement of using master and the non-inclusive terminology. I think that was part of She Code Africa 1 year, the work that they did. So there's been a lot of done there. But uh, if there's some missed opportunity there, we definitely want to make sure that's taken care of. So
Just a
maybe
couple
that's
of
its own thing.
just a couple of issues. There's two uses where it's mastering something or other, and I think that's probably okay.
Yeah,
But
that usage is different in that case. So I think that
yeah,
would.
but
Yeah, but the standalone usage where we've replaced, that with agent controllers, et cetera, that, we want to make sure that the terminology is
and I
correct. So,
think what I vaguely recall is there was a point where most of this had been done, and the access control feature was still had master on it on the screens.
mm,
And that's my recollection, is that we skipped it then because the feature hadn't been renamed, and then kind of forgot about it. But I may or may not be right, but it's just a handful. So
good to know. Thank you, Meg. Really appreciate you doing the legwork on that. Yeah, and I still need to go through the user feedback for docs and see if there's any other additional good first issues there. Um, a lot of them are more specific and niche and relevant to different pipeline steps. So probably not the best first issues, but if there's something we can find and take from that, we can definitely add that in there as well. For the LTS and weekly releases, so we just had LTS 2.516.2 release yesterday. The changelog's available. It's only a couple items. There's nothing super major here. The upgrade guide is there's no notable changes in the upgrade guide, so we won't have to go to that. But point two was released yesterday successfully, so thanks to the infra team and all the maintainers for getting that taken care of. And thanks for everyone for their review and help with the changelog. And then we also had 2.523 and 2.524 release in the last couple of weeks as far as weekly releases go. So the changelogs are available here as well. And thanks to the automated changelog generator, that's pretty nice to have. Thanks to, I think Tim's the one that set that up, if I'm not mistaken. So just having that in place really helps my life, and making the changes in everything is um, pretty minimal when it comes to the work needed there. So that's great to have. Next up's the IRC bot documentation has been removed. So this was something that Tim Jacomb had raised, saying that, and that Damien DePortal had been working on in other parts of infra. Basically, the IRC bot is deprecated. We're not using IRC for the chats. We've moved over to Matrix, so really not applicable anymore. And so working with Tim, working with Damien, so right now the IRC bot page still exists just in case someone is looking for that for one reason or another, but it does instruct them to use the current methods of communication and what we are currently working with. So Matrix is here. If someone's concerned about any kind of repository permissions or anything along those lines, that links them to that repo. The help desk for any issues and tickets to Jenkins. So we've got the multitude of resources that we utilize now in place of the IRC bot that does not function anymore for the project. So again, thanks to Damien and Tim for pointing that out and helping me get that all sorted. Some recent work that's been done for Jenkins.io. So Vastal Verma created a new Jenkins logo. It's the Jenkins India logo. So thanks to Vatsal for that. It's always nice to get new logos. And then James Nord created a support page for Jenkins. This was just merged earlier today, so I didn't get a chance to check and see if it's on the site yet. So we'll take a look at that in a second. But James has also got another pull request that just needs to be converted to open in the components so that it's actually available from the drop downs here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to go into the about section, but I could be mistaken about where it is. But in the meantime, if we go to Jenkins.io support, again, we just have a nice new support page here that lists all the various avenues for support. There will need to be some updates made to this page just to refine it a little bit and clean up some of the stuff here. But James went through all the trouble of putting this together and creating this. So it's great that we now have a centralized location for support for Jenkins support. It does, and it's got the things broken down by category for the community. Sorry about that. Trash is being picked up. Issue tracking, commercial support options, just all sorts of great information and resources here that we did not previously have. So fantastic to have. Big thanks to James for creating all that. And then finally, just again, thank you to all the GSOC contributors for all their work. It's not all necessarily going to affect Jenkins.io or the documentation, but all their work does affect the project as a whole. So it's really nice to see and great to have their enthusiasm and their work on everything. For the documentation tracking, Mark, any news or anything new there in terms of data that you've been getting or any updates there?
The data is not useful at all, as far as I can tell. It's completely inadequate for what I was hoping. I haven't yet met with the individual from the company to understand why. That'll have to happen later. I just haven't. I've had other things on my plate.
Okay, yeah, no worries. That's unfortunate to hear, but it happens. So what can you do? We'll figure something out in the long run. But thank you very much. So and just to touch base on the docs feedback stuff. So quick summary. So the discussion's been going on. Is there a way to make a pipeline so to speak, from the user feedback that gets submitted to Jenkins.io into something more constructive like issues or something along those lines. Um, there's been a lot of talk of what kind of hangups or issues that might have in terms of the feedback's not necessarily connected to someone in particular. If an issue is created, it's not tied to someone. There's not really a way to validate for that person that their issue or their feedback's been answered and resolved. And the means of doing that are just not super clear. Um, but this has been an opportunity where I can potentially look into having some AI help figure out get a summary of some ideas, and then this could potentially lead to some of those good first issues we talked about. There's a couple of things that it just needs a little bit more legwork on my end to figure out what options we have and seeing what we can do with it from there. Um, we haven't had any other movement on it from since our last discussion. I'll be honest. I've had been a little bit busy with some other stuff going on, but I do hope to kind of return to this and see what we can figure out because the feedback sheet is very helpful in some aspects. Some of it is a little bit more difficult. The feedback for specific steps means that it's tied to a specific plugin, which that opens up a whole other set of steps that would need to be taken or issues that could arise. But for
Mm.
stuff from Jenkins.io directly, there's information that we can take from that, and we can find out what we can do to help users find the documentation more useful or more a better experience for them in whatever sense it might mean.
Are some of these potentially Hacktoberfest too? Because those could be a little more sophisticated than good first issues, right?
Actually, my experience had been Hacktoberfest needs less sophisticated than good first issues has to be ready for somebody who has almost no experience with Jenkins, and most of these wouldn't fit that, and
Yeah,
especially no experience with Jenkins development.
right. Okay. Sigh.
And I think as far as the Hacktoberfest goes, I think the good first issues that we have, maybe there's ways that we can break them up into multiple pieces instead of just having one big um, instead of having one big ticket for the managing security section, for instance, like Meg, you were saying, there's
Mm,
usage of master, there's screenshots that need to be replaced, there's all sorts of multiple things that need to be done. Maybe it's a matter of we break them down into smaller digestible pieces, more people can kind of take a whack at it and find their footing in the project a little bit easier.
mm,
Because just reading it, it's a lot to digest, and they're all relatively small changes for like you said, it's a lot of removing this, renaming this, replacing this. You've even provided the content to replace it with, so like that's a really easy step for someone to take. Um,
right.
so yeah, maybe there's something there we can break it down a little bit more for people that want to participate in Hacktoberfest. But I think that's a great place to start too. So thank you again.
Mm,
For the plugin developer documentation, again, this is something to look towards later on in the future. Antoine Neveu is a developer, and he's been he's part of CloudBees, but he's joined the documentation office hours a couple of times. And the plugin developer documentation is a little lacking in some areas. How can we enhance it? How can we make it more user friendly? How can we make this more inviting to people to use and utilize and rely on as a resource? There's a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of answers to be found, but no real concrete plan as of yet in terms of what that will entail, what that's going to include, what that's going to look like. So just more to come on that. I'm hoping that once Antoine has some more bandwidth, that he might be able to join us and we can discuss this further. But it is going to be a little bit before that's an option for Antoine. So
mm.
more to come. But and again, that's something that requires a really specific set of information and knowledge and the know-how of using the different tools and ways of developing plugins. So we'll need some more sophisticated knowledge on that, but we'll get there. And then on the blue ocean deprecation, so again, some work has been done to kind of just prepare people for that deprecation, updating the status notes that exist throughout the documentation, moving where some tutorials are on the page so that they're not the first thing people see, but the last. And there are a handful of other places I've come across during the screenshot updates, for instance, where the My Blue Ocean is what's being used for the Docker installation instructions. We could probably rename that and not utilize like My Blue Ocean as part of the naming convention for the file. Little things like that can be changed, updated. That wouldn't harm anything or interfere with anyone's usage. So um, those things are lower hanging fruit. Um, and then the actual blue ocean deprecation is not likely to happen until the very end of the year, beginning of next year at the earliest. There's still some determination around what needs to happen. But right now, it is not the highest priority thing in the world. So it is going to take some time before it's a viable task to take on. So no need to rush it. That's all I'm saying. Um, but again, things are in place to try and help with that right now. There are little things we can do in the meantime that would not completely remove the documentation. But yeah, it'll be a bigger project once we actually reach the point of the deprecation becoming a real thing to happen. So yeah, that covered it for the agenda that I put together today. Does anyone have any other topics, any other items they'd like to note, talk about, discuss, share? No? All righty then. So on that case, so we'll wrap it up here. The recording will be available in 24 to 48 hours, posted over on the community discourse site and available on YouTube as well, as always. And until next time, take care, stay safe. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out on Gitter in the Docs channel. We're happy to help and answer any questions you might have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks a
everybody.
lot, Kevin. Bye bye, everyone.